The great hall of the Galactic Embassy was filled with music and light. Golden crystals floated above the guests, shining softly on faces from 100 worlds. Every race in the Alliance had come for the Festival of Unity, where partners from different species would dance together in peace and friendship. Everyone was smiling, laughing, and moving to the rhythm of the stars. Everyone except one man. Ethan stood near the wall holding a glass he did not drink from. He wore a simple black suit, but he still felt out of place among all the alien beauty. His reflection in the shining wall looked small, lost, and lonely. Around him, tall beings with bright feathers twirled in the air. Scaled dancers spun gracefully, and glowing orbs hummed in perfect harmony. Yet no one came to him. He was human, the youngest species in the Alliance, weak and strange in the eyes of others. Humans were still seen as outsiders, fragile and unpredictable. Tonight, Ethan could feel that truth like a weight pressing on his chest. He tried to smile and look calm, but inside, he felt empty. Everyone had found someone. The laughter echoed like a reminder that he did not belong. He thought about leaving quietly, just walking out of the grand doors into the night. But something in him kept waiting, as if a part of him hoped someone would notice him. And then, she did. A soft voice came from behind him, smooth like silver wind. "You do not dance, human." Ethan turned around slowly. The woman standing before him was unlike anyone he had ever seen. Her skin was pale like snow under moonlight, her hair was silver, falling like water over her shoulders, and her eyes, deep red, glowing softly like embers in the dark. The crowd around her stepped back in quiet fear. Ethan heard a whisper, Varkari. He had read about them, a race of ancient beings who fed on life energy. Alien vampires, dangerous, beautiful, mysterious. She smiled faintly. "You look lost," she said softly. "I guess I am," Ethan replied, trying to sound calm. She tilted her head slightly, her long earrings glimmering like drops of blood. "Your kind is rare here. Humans are curious creatures. Why do you stand alone while everyone finds joy?" Ethan looked down. "Maybe joy doesn't want to find me," he said with a small laugh. Her red eyes softened. "That is a sad thing to say." She took one step closer. The air around her grew colder, but her voice was warm. "I am Lyra of the Varkari. And you are—" "Ethan?" He nodded. Yes, her lips curved in a gentle smile. "Then Ethan, will you dance with me?" The words hit him like thunder. Around them, people stopped. The music quieted for a moment. A Varkari asking a human to dance? That had never happened before. Ethan froze, his heart beating fast. "I don't think that's a good idea," he whispered. Lyra's eyes glowed softly, not in anger, but in sadness. "Everyone has found their partner," she said quietly. "Except us." Something in her voice broke through his fear. It was not a command. It was a plea. For the first time, Ethan saw not a dangerous alien, but a lonely soul just like him. Slowly, he took a deep breath and set his glass down. "All right," he said quietly. "Let's dance," Lyra smiled. It was a small, real smile. When her hand touched his, he felt a chill run through his arm, cold like winter but not painful. Together, they stepped onto the glowing dance floor. The music rose again, soft and slow. The crowd watched in silence as a human and a Varkari moved together under the golden light. At first, Ethan was nervous. Her movements were elegant, perfect, like a shadow flowing through air. But as he followed her lead, he began to relax. The rhythm carried them, and the cold touch of her hand started to feel familiar. For a few moments, he forgot the watching eyes, the fear, the difference. He only saw her eyes, ancient, beautiful, and full of something that felt like sorrow. "You're not afraid of me," she said softly, almost surprised. "I was," he answered. "But now, I think I understand you." "Understand me?" she repeated, curious. "You're alone," Ethan said quietly. "Just like me." For a moment, she said nothing. Then her cold fingers tightened slightly around his. "You see too much, human," she whispered. He smiled. "We're good at that." When the music ended, the hall was silent. No one clapped. No one spoke. The human and the vampire woman stood in the center of the floor, eyes locked. Then she whispered, "Thank you, Ethan." "For what?" he asked softly. "For seeing me," she said. And before he could reply, she stepped back and walked away into the crowd. Her silver dress shimmered like mist, fading into the distance. Ethan stood still, his heart beating fast. Around him, the music started again. The crowd moved and life continued. But for him, everything had changed. He looked down at his hand. It was still cold from her touch. Yet somewhere deep inside, warmth was growing. He didn't know it yet, but that one dance would change everything. That night, long after the Festival of Unity ended, Ethan could not sleep. The grand hall was quiet, and most guests had returned to their ships. Yet his mind replayed the same moment again and again. The way her red eyes had looked at him, how her cold hand had held his, how her voice had sounded when she said, "Thank you for seeing me." He sat on the balcony of his quarters, looking out at the stars. The planet Vega Prime glowed below, full of life and color. But Ethan felt something strange inside him, something he couldn't explain. His hand still felt cold where she had touched it, but beneath the cold there was a faint warmth spreading through his veins. It was as if part of her had stayed with him. He rubbed his hand, trying to ignore the strange pulse under his skin. Probably just nerves, he whispered to himself. But deep down, he knew it wasn't. The next morning, when he looked in the mirror, he saw something new. A faint silver mark glowed on his wrist, shaped like a small crescent moon. It wasn't there before. He touched it, and for a moment he heard her voice in his mind, soft, distant, like a memory echoing through space. "Ethan." He stepped back, his heart racing. "Lyra," he whispered. But no one answered. For the rest of the day, he tried to act normal. The human delegation had meetings with the other species, and he forced himself to focus. But his mind kept drifting back to her. Every time he blinked, he saw her red eyes, gentle and sad. He couldn't understand why she had chosen him, why she, a powerful alien, had asked a human to dance. Later that evening, when the other diplomats gathered for dinner, Ethan excused himself. He said he wasn't feeling well, but the truth was he needed to find her. Something inside was calling him, pulling him toward the place where they had danced. The grand hall was empty now. The lights were dim and the floating crystals moved slowly, glowing faintly in the dark. The silence was thick like the air before a storm. Ethan walked to the center of the floor where they had stood. The spot still shimmered faintly, as if her presence had left a mark on the very ground. "Lyra," he called softly. For a moment nothing happened. Then from the shadows she appeared. Her silver hair caught the faint light and her eyes glowed like twin moons. She looked even more beautiful and more dangerous than he remembered. "You came," she said quietly. I had to," Ethan replied. "Something's happening to me. Since we danced, I feel different." She stepped closer, her gaze softening. "You feel the bond," she said. "I feared this might happen." "Bond?" he repeated, confused. "When a Varkari shares energy through touch, it can leave a connection," she explained. "It is not blood, not magic, but something deeper. It is life essence. I did not mean to pass it to you, but your spirit was strong. It answered mine." Ethan stared at her, lost for words. "So now what does that mean for me?" "It means you carry a part of me now," she said gently. "And I feel you as well." He felt his throat tighten. "Is that why I keep hearing your voice?" She nodded. "Yes, our minds are linked in a quiet way." He didn't know whether to be afraid or amazed. A link between human and Varkari, something that had never happened before. "Can it be undone?" he asked. Lyra's eyes flickered with sadness. "Perhaps. But to break it, one must choose to forget. And that is not without pain." For a long moment, they just stood there, silent. The air between them felt heavy with something unspoken. Finally, Ethan asked, "Why did you choose me, Lyra?" "Out of everyone, why a human?" She looked away, her silver hair falling over her face. "Because you looked at me like I was not a monster," she whispered. "Everyone else sees danger in my kind. You saw loneliness. You saw me." Ethan's chest ached at her words. He took a small step closer. "You're not a monster," he said softly. "You're just someone who's been alone too long." Her red eyes glistened, almost human in that moment. "You should be careful with kindness, Ethan," she said. "It makes hearts weak," he smiled faintly. "Maybe, but sometimes weakness is what makes us strong." Lyra's lips curved in a sad smile. She reached out and touched his cheek, her hand cool and trembling. "Your warmth is dangerous for me," she whispered. "It reminds me of what I've lost." Before he could answer, she stepped back, her body fading slowly into mist. Her voice lingered in the air like a whisper carried by wind. "Do not search for me again, Ethan, or the bond will grow stronger." And then she was gone. Ethan stood alone in the empty hall, his heart pounding. The silence pressed around him, but the mark on his wrist glowed softly, pulsing like a second heartbeat. He looked up at the stars beyond the glass and whispered, "Too late, Lyra. I already feel you." He didn't know what was happening to him, or what the bond truly meant. But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. The days that followed were strange for Ethan. He tried to focus on his duties as the human assistant in the Galactic Embassy, but his thoughts kept drifting back to Lyra. He could feel her presence in subtle ways, like a whisper against his mind, a faint warmth under his skin, or the soft echo of her voice when no one else was around. The mark on his wrist pulsed occasionally, a quiet reminder that their connection had not faded. At first he thought he was imagining it. Humans were sensitive, after all. But soon the strange feelings became undeniable. When he moved his hand, he felt a chill, almost as if someone invisible had mirrored his motion. When he heard a laugh in the distance, he swore it was hers. And sometimes in his dreams she appeared, not in full but as a glowing figure, silent and watching, her red eyes filled with longing. Ethan's colleagues noticed the change. He walked differently now, more cautious yet alert. He started listening more, observing the tiniest details around him. Humans were already unusual to most species, but now he seemed different, almost sharper, as if he could sense things beyond normal perception. Some whispered that the human was becoming remarkable. One afternoon, Ethan found himself standing alone on the embassy balcony again. The sun of Vega Prime was falling, painting the sky in orange and purple. He pressed his hand to the mark on his wrist and closed his eyes. "Lyra," he whispered. "Can you hear me?" For a moment, there was only silence. Then a soft shiver ran down his spine. A faint voice echoed in his mind, distant but unmistakable. "I am here, human, always." His eyes snapped open. The sound wasn't outside, it was inside him. A part of him, separate yet intertwined, resonated with her words. "Why me?" he asked quietly, speaking aloud this time. "Why did you share your essence with me?" "Because you dared to see me," the voice replied. "Because you treated me as a being, not a threat. Human, your kind is unusual." Ethan swallowed hard. The truth of her words struck him with awe. Humans were small, weak compared to the Varkari and many other species, but they had a gift that no alien had: courage, empathy, and the ability to choose kindness even when fear surrounded them. Somehow his simple act of trust had touched her. Over the next few days, Ethan began noticing other things. He could anticipate movements of the aliens around him, almost instinctively. He could sense danger before it arrived, a subtle shift in the air, a quiet tensing of muscles. It frightened him, but it also excited him. He realized that the bond with Lyra was not just emotional, it was something deeper, something that made him stronger. Yet the bond was not without its weight. He also felt her pain. When she was uneasy, he became restless. When she was lonely, his heart ached. It was strange, confusing, and overwhelming. Humans were not meant to carry the emotions of another species inside them, and yet here he was, connected to a creature feared across galaxies. One evening, the Varkari ambassador arrived to speak with him. She was calm, distant yet wise, with silver hair flowing like water. Her eyes were not red like Lyra's, but sharp and calculating. "Human," she said, her voice smooth. "You have been seen with Lyra. That is unusual." Ethan nodded slowly. "I know. She asked me to dance." The ambassador's gaze narrowed. "You do not understand what that means. Varkari do not share themselves easily. That touch you received, it is a bond that can change you." Ethan felt the chill run along his spine. "Change me?" he asked. "How?" "Humans are fragile," she said, almost pityingly. "Your species is not ready for this. And yet, you endured it. You survived it. That alone is remarkable." Ethan swallowed. "I don't understand everything that's happening, but I feel connected to her." The Varkari ambassador gave him a long look, and for the first time, Ethan thought he saw something like respect in her eyes. "Perhaps humans are more capable than we expected," she said quietly. "Be careful. The galaxy watches, and not everyone will welcome this connection." That night, Ethan stood again beneath the stars, feeling the pulse in his wrist. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Lyra, I don't know what's coming, but I'll face it. I'll face it with you." A soft warmth spread through him, like the faint touch of her hand. "And I will face it with you, human," her voice said, gentle and strong. Ethan opened his eyes and looked at the endless sky. He realized then that being human did not mean being weak. It meant choosing to stand, to trust, and to love, even when everything seemed impossible. And for the first time, he understood something that many had never believed. The heart of a human could touch the stars, and even a Varkari. The bond was just beginning, and the galaxy would never be the same. The days after Ethan's bond with Lyra grew stronger. Strange things began happening at the embassy. Other species started noticing the subtle changes in him. His reactions were faster, his senses sharper. At first, most dismissed it as luck or coincidence, but soon whispers spread. A human showing strength beyond normal limits, and always after being near a Varkari? That was unprecedented. Ethan felt the weight of it, but he could not ignore the pull in his chest, the invisible thread connecting him to Lyra. Every time she appeared in his mind, he felt a warmth and a warning all at once. Something was coming, something dangerous. He didn't know what, but he could sense it like a shadow moving before sunrise. That evening, the embassy held another celebration, smaller than the Festival of Unity. Delegates mingled, exchanged stories, and enjoyed delicacies from countless worlds. Ethan stayed on the outskirts, careful not to attract too much attention. Yet his mind was elsewhere, trying to feel Lyra, to find the faint pulse that had become his guide. Then he saw her. Lyra emerged from the shadows at the far end of the hall, her silver hair glowing under the soft lights. Her red eyes scanned the crowd until they landed on him. For a moment, the room seemed to pause. Ethan felt the pull stronger than ever. She moved toward him with grace, her presence both dangerous and mesmerizing. "Human," she whispered, her voice carried by the silent thread only they could hear. "They are watching us." Ethan looked around. Most guests were chatting, laughing, unaware, yet some had stopped mid-conversation, their eyes sharp and cautious. Something about him, about the bond they shared, had caught attention. "Who?" he asked quietly. "The Council of the Alliance," she replied. "Some species fear what we share. They believe a human should not touch a Varkari." Her voice was calm, but her red eyes burned with concern. "They will try to interfere if they think it threatens the balance." Ethan's heart tightened. "But why me? Why is this happening to us?" "Because you dared to be human," she said softly. "Strong, fragile, and alive in ways they cannot understand. And that scares them." Before he could respond, a sharp alarm echoed through the hall. Guards appeared, moving swiftly. A delegation of alien officials approached, their eyes fixed on Ethan. One of them, a tall, crystalline being, pointed at him and spoke in a tone that sent chills through the air. "You," it said, voice hard, "step aside. You are under investigation for unauthorized interaction with a Varkari." Ethan felt his pulse quicken, but then he remembered Lyra's warmth in his mind. He lifted his chin, feeling courage he didn't know he had. "I have done nothing wrong," he said steadily. "I danced. That is all." The crystal being's eyes narrowed. "That bond is forbidden." "A human cannot," Ethan interrupted, his voice stronger than before. "I am human, I am free. And what I felt was real." The room fell silent. No one had ever seen a human speak with such authority in front of the council. Lyra stepped beside him, and the air around her seemed to shimmer. Her red eyes glowed brighter, her presence commanding attention. "You see him," she said, her voice like steel wrapped in silk.
"He is not weak."
"His heart is strong. He is my choice, and he stands for what humans can be." Gasps filled the hall. Whispers spread like fire. Some feared the bond, but others watched in awe. Ethan felt a strange confidence rising within him, as if the pulse of her life was merging with his own. The crystal being took a cautious step back. "This cannot be," it muttered. "A human, with the Varkari bond. Unprecedented." "Yes," Lyra said softly, placing a cold hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Unprecedented. And perhaps it is time for the galaxy to see that humans are not fragile. They are alive. They are strong. And they can touch even the stars." Ethan felt heat rush through his chest, a mix of fear and exhilaration. The bond throbbed, strong and unbreakable. For the first time, he did not feel small. He felt infinite. As the officials withdrew, muttering among themselves, Ethan looked at Lyra. I think I understand now," he said quietly. "Being human, it's not about being weak. It's about what we choose to do with our hearts." She smiled faintly, her red eyes softening. "Yes, human. That is exactly why I chose you." And in that moment, Surrounded by a galaxy that feared what it could not understand, Ethan realized something he had never known before. Maybe being human was the greatest power of all. The night was heavy with tension. Ethan could feel it in his chest before he even stepped onto the embassy platform. The bond with Lyra pulsed faintly under his skin, a constant reminder that he was no longer just human. He was connected to a being feared across the galaxy. And tonight, that connection had drawn attention he could not ignore. As he walked toward the garden terrace, he sensed movement in the shadows. Lyra appeared beside him, silent, her red eyes glowing faintly under the pale lights. She didn't speak at first. Instead, she reached out, her hand brushing his arm. The touch was cold but comforting. "They have come," she whispered, her voice almost a breath. "The ones who fear the bond." Ethan's heart tightened. "How many?" "3, she said. "Agents of the Council. Trained to stop anything they cannot control. They may try to harm you or me." He swallowed hard but did not step back. "Then we face them together," he said. Lyra's eyes softened. "Yes, human, together." The first agent emerged from the shadows like a predator. Tall, armored, with glowing blue eyes, it moved swiftly toward them. Its hand was raised, ready to strike. Ethan's instincts kicked in before fear could take over. He felt the bond pulse violently. A sudden awareness of the world around him sharpened his senses. The movement of the air, the soft rustle of leaves, even the faintest heartbeat of the approaching agent. It all became clear. He dodged the strike, feeling an unnatural speed in his limbs. Lyra moved beside him, her presence almost ethereal. She did not attack. She merely guided him. A quiet force that made him stronger, sharper, braver. "You are faster than any human should be," she whispered as they moved together, evading the agent's strikes. "I feel connected," he replied, panting slightly. "I can sense you. I can sense everything." The agent circled them, careful but relentless. Ethan realized this fight was not just about strength, it was about will. Humans were often underestimated, but he had something no alien could mimic. Courage born from choice, from heart. From the determination to protect what mattered. A second agent lunged at him, but he sidestepped and grabbed a nearby railing. He spun, using his momentum to push the agent off balance. Lyra's laugh, soft but fierce, echoed in his mind. "Good, human," she said. "Do not be afraid of your own power." Ethan's confidence grew with each movement. The bond was no longer subtle. It was a lifeline. He could feel her thoughts, her intentions, her presence guiding him like a silent rhythm. He dodged, blocked, and moved as though the two of them were one being. The third agent approached from behind, faster than the others. Ethan's eyes widened, but Lyra's hand found his, cold and firm. A sudden wave of energy pulsed through him, giving him strength he had never known. The agent stumbled, unable to comprehend the human's sudden surge. "You are stronger than we imagined," the crystalline agent shouted, astonished and angry. "Yes," Lyra said softly, placing her other hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Stronger because he is human, because his heart chooses courage over fear." With a final, coordinated movement, Ethan dodged and redirected the agent's strike. The agent staggered back, shocked and defeated, realizing that the human and the Varkari together were far beyond anything they expected. Silence fell over the garden. The agents retreated, their glowing eyes still fixed on Ethan. Lyra released his hand and stepped closer, her red eyes softening. "You see, human," she said quietly. "Your kind is underestimated always. But courage, empathy, heart, these are powers no alien can match." Ethan's chest heaved, but a smile spread across his face. "I understand now," he whispered. "It's not about being the strongest. It's about choosing to stand when no one else will. Choosing to protect what matters, even when fear surrounds you." Lyra's hand touched his cheek, cold but tender. "Yes, that is why I chose you. Not because you are human, but because you are brave enough to be yourself." As they stood together beneath the starlight, the bond between them thrummed stronger than ever. The danger had come and they had faced it, not as alien and human, but as two beings connected by something deeper than strength, deeper than fear. For the first time, Ethan realized the truth of the galaxy. Being human was not a weakness. It was a force that could inspire even the most ancient of beings to see hope, courage and love where none had existed before, and together, he and Lyra would face whatever came next. The next morning, the embassy was alive with whispers. Ethan walked through the grand hall, sensing eyes on him from every corner. He could feel it in the air. The bond he shared with Lyra was no longer a secret. The agents who had attacked them had spoken, and now the Council of the Alliance watched closely. Normally, humans were barely noticed among the countless species of the galaxy. But Ethan was different now. His connection to Lyra made him visible, significant, a symbol that no one could ignore. Every glance carried judgment, curiosity, or fear. He tried to stay calm, but the pulse of the bond throbbed beneath his skin, reminding him of the warmth and danger that Lyra brought into his life. He found her waiting in the garden terrace, where they had trained together the night before. Her red eyes glimmered softly in the morning light, and her silver hair reflected it like liquid metal. She looked calm, most serene, but Ethan knew better. Even she could feel the tension of the galaxy pressing in around them. "They are talking about us," Ethan said quietly as he approached her. "The council. The ambassadors. Everyone knows." Lyra nodded, her gaze distant. "Yes, some are afraid. Others are fascinated. And a few respect what you have shown." Ethan took a deep breath. "Do you think they'll try to stop us?" "They will try," she said softly. "They fear what they do not understand. But fear is not stronger than truth, Ethan. And the truth is, you are extraordinary. Your kind is extraordinary, and I will not let them take that away from you." He felt the warmth of her hand when she reached for his. The cold touch mixed with reassurance, and for the first time, he felt a surge of confidence that was not entirely his own. The bond pulsed stronger, as if she was reminding him that they were no longer separate. The first ambassador approached, an elegant insectoid being with translucent wings. Its multiple eyes blinked in quick succession as it studied Ethan. "Human," it said, voice sharp and metallic. "The council demands explanation. How did a human gain the bond of a Varkari? This is forbidden." Ethan straightened. He remembered the lessons of the last night. The courage, the connection, the power of being human. "I did not ask for it," he said firmly. "But I accepted it. And I am not afraid. I will not hide what is real." The ambassador's eyes widened. "You speak boldly. You do not tremble?" "I do not," Ethan replied. "Because I know what it means to be human. We are not the weakest. We are not the smallest. We choose to stand, to trust, to protect. And that choice makes us strong." A murmur ran through the crowd. Many were shocked. Some feared humans more than ever, but others, even from distant species, watched with admiration. Lyra's hand remained on Ethan's shoulder, steady and reassuring. She smiled faintly. "He speaks the truth," she said. "And your fear does not change it." The insectoid ambassador stepped back, uncertain. Ethan's heart pounded, not from fear but from the realization that being human, being himself, could make a difference. The whispers continued, but he no longer felt small. The bond with Lyra had changed him in ways no one could undo. Later, as the crowd dispersed, Ethan and Lyra stood alone beneath the stars. He looked at her, eyes wide. "It's strange. Everyone knows now, and yet I feel more alive than ever." Lyra tilted her head, her red eyes softening. "Because you are alive, human. You are brave, and you chose to see me not as a monster, but as someone who needed understanding. That is why we are here, together." Ethan swallowed, emotion rising in his chest. "I never thought being human could mean this much. I never thought I could matter like this." "You do," she said, her voice gentle. "And your heart. Your courage. It touches even me. The galaxy fears us, but together we are proof that humanity can inspire, even in the face of fear." Ethan took her hand, cold yet comforting. "Then we face them. Whatever comes, we face it together." Lyra's red eyes glimmered, fierce yet tender. "Yes, human. Together." And as they stood there beneath the glow of countless stars, Ethan realized something he had never known before. Being human was not a weakness. It was a gift. And love, courage, and trust. These were powers the galaxy could not deny. The bond was no longer hidden. The galaxy knew. And Ethan finally understood that being human meant standing tall, even when the universe expected you to fall. The galaxy had changed. Word of the human who had danced with a Varkari and survived had spread across the Alliance. Some whispered with fear, others with awe. But Ethan did not feel small anymore. He had learned what it meant to be human. Not weak, not fragile, but courageous, alive. and capable of touching even the hearts of the stars. Tonight, the embassy held a final celebration before the delegates returned to their homes. The grand hall shimmered under floating crystals, golden light mingling with soft blue. Music filled the air, but Ethan's attention was only on her. Lyra stood at the edge of the room, silver hair flowing, red eyes glowing softly, watching him with a smile that made his chest ache. "Shall we?" she whispered, her hand extended. Ethan took a deep breath and reached for her. The moment their fingers met, warmth and cold intertwined, a pulse of life that reminded him of everything they had endured together. For a heartbeat, the entire hall seemed to pause. Every eye turned toward them, not with anger, but with curiosity, some even with admiration. They stepped onto the dance floor. The music rose, soft and deep, as if it had been written for this very moment. Ethan felt the bond pulse stronger than ever, a rhythm that guided him. Lyra's movements were elegant, flowing, and effortless. Yet it was not her skill that took his breath away. It was their unity. Together they moved as if they were one being. "You have grown," she said softly, her voice touching his mind. "I have," he replied. "Because of you." Because of us, the crowd watched in silence. Aliens from countless worlds, creatures of light, shadow, and crystal, witnessed something extraordinary. A human and a Varkari moving together, connected not by fear or legend, but by trust, courage, and heart. The whispers had stopped. For the first time, Ethan realized that being human meant standing in the face of judgment and fear, and choosing to shine anyway. As they danced, Ethan felt memories of the past days rush through him. The first touch, the first heartbeat of the bond, the danger they had faced, and the moments of quiet connection beneath the stars. Every challenge, every fear had led to this moment. Every doubt had melted away under the power of courage and trust. "You were afraid?" Lyra whispered. "Yes," he admitted. "But I am not anymore. Not with you." Her red eyes glimmered, fierce and tender at the same time. "Then you understand why humans are remarkable. You are small, fleeting, fragile, yet stronger than many believe. Your heart chose bravery when everything else whispered fear." Ethan smiled, the warmth spreading through him like sunlight. "And you, Lyra, you taught me to see myself, to see what humans can be." The final notes of the music lingered in the air. For a moment, the universe felt still. Then the crowd erupted, not in judgment, but in applause. Not all understood, but some did. Some realized that humanity, small and fragile as it seemed, could inspire hope in the galaxy. As they stepped off the floor, Lyra pressed her cold hand to Ethan's cheek. "Do you understand now?" she asked softly. "Yes," he said, voice steady. "Being human is not about weakness. It's about courage, heart, and choice. It's about standing even when the universe doubts you." She leaned closer, her breath cool against his ear. "Then stay human, Ethan. Stay brave and never let the galaxy forget that your kind is extraordinary." He nodded, swallowing the emotion that threatened to overflow. "I will, and I will stay with you. Always." Her red eyes glowed, bright with a mix of pride and affection. "And I with you, human, always." The stars outside the hall seemed to shine brighter that night. The universe had witnessed something rare, a human and a Varkari united in courage, heart, and trust. Two souls dancing together, defying fear, and showing the galaxy that strength did not only lie in power, but in spirit. And as they moved together one last time beneath the golden and blue lights, Ethan understood something he had never known before. The heart of a human could touch the stars, inspire courage, and even teach an ancient alien race the meaning of hope. The bond they shared had survived fear, danger, and doubt. It had grown stronger with every heartbeat, every touch, every choice to trust and stand together. And in that bond, Ethan felt infinite. The music ended. The crowd faded into whispers, and the night returned to quiet. But Ethan and Lyra remained, hands intertwined, eyes locked, hearts beating together. Two beings from worlds apart, human and Varkari, had found something eternal in each other. And as the stars watched silently above, Ethan realized the truth. Being human was the greatest power of all. The dance was over, but their story had just begun.